So now I'm sitting here doing this, and now I feel slightly bad about the way that I'm doing it. Spice, not as in spices, but as in a spy, since someone who sneaks around and stares in people's windows. This is an honest channel. We do in honesty. My name is Monique, this is the Cauldron, and today we are going to do a new little thing I like to call Is It Still 5 Stars? In case you were not aware, my name is Monique, this is the Bookwitch Reviews. The Bookwitch Reviews? Apparently, we're snazzy today, and I just thought it would be quite funny to sort of explain to you guys how my brain works in regards to rating, because sometimes I read a book and I immediately think this is 5 stars, this is the best thing of all time, and that sticks with me even though the book might be flawed. And then I give it 5 stars, or I read a book so fast that I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I really like parts of it, and then I give it 4 or 5 stars. And then sometimes also I give it 5 stars and in the moment it's a 5 star, but then I think back and then I'm like, is it really though? Because I am both very giving with 5 stars and very like withholding of them, because sometimes I'm like, no, 5 stars should be books that I want to reread for the rest of my life. Books that are not that, they don't get it. They don't deserve the 5 star stamp. All the cauldrons, all the magic, the hoo-hoo, if people ask me, is this book good? And I'm like, I scream at them. That's what a 5 star is supposed to be for me. So I thought it would be quite funny to go back over my readings of 2019, which obviously you guys don't know a whole lot about because I wasn't on BookTube at that point. So what we're going to do today is I am going to go through my little stack of 5 stars. Actually, it's not little. I have 15 5-star books from 2019. Which do not include rereads, and they do not include a whole series, which were all compacted for me 5 stars. Also, I am not going to go into each one of these books because there are quite a few, but I will mention in my very badly summarizing way roughly what the book is about, and then I will tell you whether or not it's still a 5 star a year later, because we are in the middle of August, team, which means the year is on the mend. We hope 2021 is going to be so much better. But okay, let's start the thing. So my first 5-star read of 2019 were none other than this one. This is The Puppy War by R.F. Kuang. I adore this book. It hurts me. It's lovely. I want to read it again before I read The Dragon Republic because it's going to scar me. And also its third book is coming out this year. The trilogy will be done. You can hurt yourself all over again, but in like rapid pace immediately. It's called The Burning God. It's coming out I think November, maybe. Anyway, this is The Puppy War. Is it still 5 stars? Absolutely. I'm sad I didn't shout about this more when I got it because I was on Bookstagram, but I read it in a day. This is a little chunky book. There are like 600-ish pages. Ooh, okay, 530, I'm lying. 530 pages full of Chinese folklore. It's during a certain dynasty, I can't remember, and it is Opium Wars. It is a war fantasy. The first half of the book is like a school setting, and we are following Rin, who is basically just badass in every sense of the way. However, before you pick this up, because you hear such amazing things, you obviously should also be aware of the intense amount of trigger warnings that are in this book. It scarred me for life. There is a set passage in here once we like go over into the war setting, and it gives me nightmares still, but oh my god, so good. Still 5 stars. Okay, next one is this baby. This is Crown of Feathers by Nicki Preto, which is her debut novel. This is the this is the Owl Crate edition, which was my very first Owl Crate ever, and I love them. This book is stunning and beautiful, and I gave it 5 stars because I was so pumped about the fact that this debut was just beautiful and like magical and has phoenix riders. This is a young adult fantasy following a girl who is an animage, which basically means that she is a person who has animal magic, which means she can talk to animals. She can also connect with phoenixes, and this world is basically a world that had just come out of this long war between phoenix riders and like regular people, and animages are now like enslaved basically, and it is a stunning debut and I highly recommend that you read it. But I have been thinking back over it and I do not think that it is quite 5 stars. Its sequel though, 4.5, very good, which means that the third book is going to come out and then I'm going to cry. However, I still think that it is a highly recommendable story. It just has some of those like, you know, small niggles that you have about debut books basically, but it also has one of my favorite tropes, which is girls dressing like boys to do shit and get stuff done. So please read this, do it now. Next up is another debut. Is this baby? This is the Stormcrow by Kalyn Josephson. This is an ARC copy actually that I got with Fairy Loot before I really got into the whole ARC thing. This is another young adult fantasy that I read and was like, there are birds, girls riding birds, 5 star. Thought back about it, was a little bit like, it has some small issues, and some of the pacing is just like, Also, its sequel is apparently out and I really want it, but also I think I was just like mesmerized by this cover. I gave it 5 stars. I think it's more like a 4 star because it is a little bit. However, it does have some very brilliant depression rep in here, and also a non-existent love triangle, which I think is turning into a love triangle in the second book, and that annoys me because I fucking hate love triangles. Okay, but another very shiny debut. I can't with this cover. It's just so pretty, so stunning. Oh my god. Okay, next up, there is no questions about what fucking like rating this has. This is Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon, which was my favorite book of 2019. It was so good. It has everything. Are you thinking, do you want assassins? Do you want dragon riders? Do you want royalty? Do you want a sprawling fantasy world with science and magic at its like each other's throat? We have an ancient evil stirring. We have a plague. This book is everything, in case you didn't know. Oh my god. 5 star, 10 star, all the stars. I love this book so much. Next up is this little bad boy. This is Wigan Saints by Emily A. Duncan, which is a, I think, new adult fantasy book. It has blood and magic and monsters, and I was sort of on the verge with this one because I think I might originally have given it 4 stars and then I changed it to 5 stars because I kept thinking about it. So which is why it's keeping its 5 star rating, because it's just, it has some weirdness. And this book has a very divided audience. People really love it or people really fucking hate it and are confused by it and DNF'd it. I absolutely adored it. The sequel, Ruthless Gods, is absolutely so good. And basically we are in a Russian inspired fantasy world where we have 2 countries at war, and we follow Nadia, who is a cleric who speaks to God and speaks to several gods actually and gets their magic from them. And then we have a different sort of like country that they are being like taken over by, who have like blood magic basically, and we follow Seraphim, who is a sweet little innocent muffin, and I will protect him with my life. I highly recommend. Did you read this if you like some monsters with your magic, darkness, and eyes? So many eyes. Next up, we got an incredibly underrated book that I read in, I believe, under 24 hours. And it's this baby. This is The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh, and I have read other books by Renee Ahdieh. She just recently came out with The Beautiful, and I really didn't like that book. However, this one, which was her first one, is my absolute favorite. It's just so good. This is like I think it's 1001 or 101 Arabian Nights retelling, basically, where we have a very strong female lead who lets herself get married to the king, who has been killing a new girl every week or every night for several months, basically with the idea to go in and kill him. But stuff ensues. There is magic. This the sequel. I will read it at one point, but I will reread this first because this is just enemies to lovers in the most perfect sense of the word. The writing is beautiful, the setting is stunning, and I'm just in love. 5. All of them. Next up, we got a very much beloved author duo, and it's this one. This is Aurora Rising by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, and I read this in a couple of hours because it's easy. It's young adult fantasy. No, not fantasy. It's young adult sci-fi. It's a ragtag crew of misfits that find family. It has the twistiest ending. However, I thought about this. It's not quite 5-star for me in the same way that its sequel wasn't quite 5 stars, because it just has a little bit of something where you're like, what is missing? What is it? What is it? Am I basically just being salty? I feel like I'm being salty by doing this video, but I wanted to, so here we go. Next up, we got this bad boy. This is Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson, which is a standalone, a beautiful young adult fantasy that I adore with my whole heart. I desperately want to reread it. This book follows a librarian apprentice who gets accused of murder, and basically in this world books are dangerous. They are also basically made out of humans. They are called grimoires, and they have magical properties, and they need to be kept in a library where the librarians have swords, and it's just goodness. And we have beautiful bisexual rep in here from the love interest who's a wizard, and it's just wonderful and goodness, and I love this so much. And this is another Owl Crate edition, and it's stunning, and I love it so much. We've got some few more books still. Okay, are you ready? It's Cydia Brass by S.A. Chakrabarty. Do I need to talk about this book? No. Is it solidly a 5-star? I actually think this is my favorite book of the series, which ended with Empire of Gold, which was glorious and beautiful. The whole series is a 5-star for me, but this one is like a 6-star, like a little extra bit of stunning adult fantasy. Basically, we got djinns, we got a thief from Cairo who gets picked up and brought somewhere else. Stunning goodness. This one is literally just for me. You will maybe not love this as much if you did not love Tamara Pierce when you were younger and still love her with the intensity of 1,000 Suns now. This is Tortell's A Spy's Guide. Basically, this is just a compilation of letters and almost like short stories. It is funky. It is just, oh God, I love it so much. And it's like a little inside look at the world of Tortell, which is one of my favorite fictional worlds. And I cried when I read it, and I will cry when I reread it. Okay, another big body. This is The Secret Commonwealth, the second book in the Book of Dust from Philip Pullman, who I adore with everything. So good. This is the sequel to La Belle Sauvage, and this book, unlike the former one, the first one in the Book of Dust, which goes back to before his Dark Materials were written, this one is 10 years after we leave Lyra and Will, the Amber Spyglass, and this is just so good and so stunning. And Philip Pullman writes unlike anyone else. It does have triggers for almost sexual assault, which I was not prepared for, but it's just so good. If you didn't know what his Dark Materials is about, let me tell you. His Dark Materials is basically an alternative world to our own, where we follow Lyra in an Oxford, which looks like ours but isn't quite ours. And in this world, everyone has a daemon, which is a personified, like basically an animal companion that shows off who you are as in your soul. And when you are younger, the animal can change shapes, and as you get older, they settle into a shape that basically tells people something about you. And there is armored bears, sciencey stuff, pain in your soul, and this book is just like it, but just adult, because Lyra is just so good. So the next one is the continued saga of the Others by Anne Bishop. This is yet another beautiful book in her World of Others series. This one is basically almost like Western, like the making of a town, and I can't really explain to you what this book is about without ruining some of the former books for you, so I'm not, but all I'm going to say is please, 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 please read the Others series by Anne Bishop. Read her The Black Jewel trilogy, which is one of my favorite things. Just do it, just get in there to start, and then you will thank me forever, because she writes so good dark fantasy. Get on. Next is a book that very much surprised me with how much I deeply loved it. This is another Owl Crate book. This is The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd Jones. Oh my god, this is such a teeny tiny little beautiful book, and it hurt my heart in such a good, beautiful way. Solid 5 stars. If I could give it more, I absolutely would. This is following a gravedigger and a map maker in a world where the dead don't stay dead, but where usually they were just sort of like confused, and now they seem to be more evil, and it's just so good. You all deserve to read it, because you should. We only have 2 books left here, so let's just talk about it. This is Queen of Nothing by Holly Black, which is the last book in the Folk of Air series, which is also called the Cruel Prince series. This is a fae book, basically. It is a young adult, new adult, I would say, following a girl whose parents were killed by the fairy, who then brought them into the fae realm, and she grew up there basically being tormented terribly by the fairy because she's human and mortal, and then she turns into like a spy. It's so good. This is the final one. People either hated it. I absolutely adored this ending. There was a little bit of something where I was like, are we really gonna do this fast? But overall, it's just a really nice, like, secret love series of mine. And The Queen of Nothing, I think, solidly deserved 5 stars, because I love Jude Ducat with my whole dark, damaged heart, which Holly Black stabbed repeatedly with this book, and its previous ones. And last but not least, I decided on a whim to read the entire Nevernight Chronicles at the very end of last year, when I still needed to read a certain amount of books to reach my book reads goal, which I did not, but I did read this series and I loved it. This is Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. The whole series for me is a solid 5 star. I adored it. Nevernight especially is wonderful. This is an adult fantasy following Mia Corvair, who is an assassin out to seek revenge on her family, and it's stunning and so good and so lovely, and I just cannot. So there we go, team. That was my 5 star reads from 2019. I hope you enjoyed this. There are only, I think, 4. There are only 3 of them that are no longer 5 stars, and I feel slightly bad about saying that they're no longer 5 stars, but you know, this was just what I wanted to do today. This was the video that I had planned, and I may even do the opposite one, which is 4 stars, which are now 5 stars in my head for 2019. We'll see if we do that, or if I'm just going to basically pick out some of the books that I loved the most in 2019, because I wasn't here and I like sharing. So I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books. What did you rate them? If there are any that you were like, this was my favorite of 2019, I would love to know. And then just give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Hit that subscribe button at the same time so you don't miss out on any other videos from me. You can click the little bell, it will give you a notification. It says ding, and then you know that there is new content, which is just delightful. And then I will see you guys really soon with another video. I hope you are taking care of yourself. I hope you are reading all of the 5 stars, and then just remember that I'm really proud of you, and I'll see you really soon. Bye! But it is the crew that he needs. Lovely.